Peter Zalmayev. He's joining us on Skype from Kiev in Ukraine. Now, he is the executive director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. Welcome to the News Hour, sir. Just take me through your reaction to what we're seeing happening on the streets of Minsk.
Well, we're seeing a culmination of, I would say, 3 weeks, or actually a month, of a truly popular uprising that has as its sole aim, the ouster of a man who has ruled this country with an iron fist for a quarter of a century. The people that are out on the streets have not been protesting against the Kremlin. They have not been appealing to any European values, which is distinguishing this particular revolution that we're witnessing from that happened in Ukraine 6 years ago. The one goal the protesters have is to get rid of the guy, and they're doing it in a spectacularly democratic fashion with no single leader, with the leadership dispersed, and with a truly kind of popular it's a true popular uprising, the likes of which Belarus has never witnessed.
Why is it, though, we're 4 or 5 weeks into this process now, why is it, though, no side is either winning or no side is, on the other hand of that debate, giving in to the other? No one seems to be able to deal a killer blow here on the part of either the president or the demonstrators.
Well, it's a very good question. And on the part of Lukashenko, we're seeing that he is able to hold on just enough simply because he has retained the loyalty of his security services. That has not wavered, with few exceptions. The big unknown remains Vladimir Putin, who has sent contradictory signals, but is yet, from what we have been able to see, unwilling to contemplate a victory by a street protest, which will create a very unpleasant precedent for Russia and for Putin's rule. When it comes to the protesters, I think we're witnessing truly that the Belarusians are finally waking up after their 70 years of the Soviet rule and 25 years of this guy. They are willing to shake off their fear, but for right now, their protest has been peaceful. And the big debate is whether they will, consider taking a militant action against Lukashenko. And there are indications now that certain defense brigades, as they're called, are being formed. So before long, we may see an armed uprising. And in that situation, all bets are off. And Lukashenko is counting on Putin introducing troops to quell the uprising.
Okay, forgive me if I'm sounding a bit OCD about this, Peter, but are you saying an armed uprising because the security services basically stage a coup, and they start fighting with their own weapons alongside the protesters? Are you saying that's a possibility here?
I'm saying the protesters themselves are arming, whether it be Molotov cocktails, sticks, stones, light weapons. We are going to be seeing some of that simply because there is that sort of standoff that's not moving either here nor there, as you mentioned. And as is often the case in such situations, these things have a tendency of turning violent, And there's also a scenario you cannot discount, and that scenario would have Russian or Lukashenko provocateurs trying to come across as protesters and inciting violence so that Lukashenko has an excuse to welcome Russian tanks in order to quell the uprising. But once again, we are not certain as to what Vladimir Putin's moves will be. I'm not so sure he's going to be willing to support a very unpopular president. So he, just like any of us experts who are now guessing what's going to happen next, I will guarantee you Putin himself is daily calculating the odds of this or that move on his part. He does not know what's going to happen himself. The situation is very unpredictable and combustible at the same time. And also, you cannot, of course, discount the possibility of a coup that you mentioned. But for right now, we are not seeing those signs yet.
Okay, Peter Zalmayev in Kiev, in Ukraine.